Everyone thinks boosting testosterone automatically fixes your sex drive, but for a lot of high-performing men, that's exactly what's killing it. I've seen this pattern over and over in labs, data, and client cases. Testosterone alone isn't enough. If it's not being converted, absorbed, or balanced properly, it can backfire, leading to low libido, poor recovery, and burnout, even with perfect numbers on paper. In this video, I'm breaking down how high and low testosterone both cause problems when the rest of your system isn't optimized, and the exact tests and fixes I use to solve it. This is based on real data, blood work, symptom tracking, and case studies. And if you've been doing everything right but still feel off, this will explain why. Here's the reality most men don't know. By age 50, men's testosterone drops 20% from age 30 levels, and by 70, it can be up to 40% lower, citing a 2002 study. But that's just the beginning. Free testosterone, the only kind your body can actually use, declines 2 to 3% per year, which is twice as fast as total testosterone. In a study of roughly 1,000 healthy Chinese men, by age 70, nearly half had biochemical low free testosterone despite normal testosterone levels. Your testosterone isn't just low, it's being converted into the wrong things. Think of your hormonal system like a high-performance factory with 3 critical departments that must work in perfect harmony. I call this the PCU framework: production, conversion, and utilization. And it's the key to understanding why so many men feel terrible despite having normal testosterone levels. Here's how it works. Production. This is the manufacturing floor where testosterone gets made. Your HPG axis, hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, acts like the factory's command center, sending signals from your brain to your testes to produce testosterone. But if this communication system breaks down due to stress, poor sleep, or nutrient deficiencies, your testosterone factory shuts down, no matter how many supplements you take. Conversion. This is the refinement process that turns raw testosterone into the hormones that actually drive libido and performance. Your body converts testosterone into DHT, which is 3 to 10 times more potent for sexual function, and estradiol, which men need in optimal amounts for mood and erection quality. Think of this like refining crude oil into high-octane gasoline. Without proper conversion, you're left with unusable raw material. And the last is utilization. This is the delivery system that gets hormones to your cells where they can actually work. Even if you're producing and converting testosterone perfectly, factors like SHBG, which locks up testosterone, poor androgen receptor sensitivity, and chronic stress can prevent your body from using the hormones you have. It's like having a Ferrari with premium fuel, but the key won't turn in the ignition. The PCU framework explains why most approaches to testosterone optimization fail. Most men focus only on production, trying to pump up total testosterone numbers through TRT, supplements, or lifestyle changes. But that's like increasing oil production when your refinery is broken and your delivery trucks can't reach their destination. When any of these 3 systems fail, you get the symptoms of low testosterone, even with normal levels: fatigue, brain fog, low libido, poor recovery, and that feeling that you're just not the man that you used to be. But when all 3 systems work together, your hormonal system doesn't just function, it dominates. Why your testosterone factory is shutting down. Let me show you exactly how testosterone production works, because understanding this will explain why most approaches fail. The HPG axis, hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, is your body's testosterone command center. It works like a sophisticated military communication system. The hypothalamus, your brain's hormone headquarters, releases GnRH in precise pulses. Think of GnRH as the start signal for testosterone production. The pituitary gland receives GnRH and responds by releasing LH, your luteinizing hormone, and FSH. LH is the critical one. It travels to your testes and says, make more testosterone. The Leydig cells in your testes receive the LH signal and produce testosterone from cholesterol. This system is incredibly precise. According to research in a 1996 study, healthy young men have synchronized LH and testosterone pulses, but older men show irregular secretion patterns and reduced synchrony, meaning the communication breaks down with age. Here's what you need to measure to assess production. Total testosterone should be around 500 nanograms per deciliter or greater. Free testosterone, which should be around 120 picograms per milliliter for men under 40, and LH and FSH, where your LH should be 1.5 to 5 IUs per liter. And prolactin, this should be less than 15 nanograms per milliliter for optimal sexual health. But here's where it gets dangerous. There are 5 silent killers destroying testosterone production right now, and most men have no idea they're under attack. The first killer is prolactin. High prolactin is one of the most underrated killers of male hormones, and most men and doctors never check for it. Research published in Endocrinology 2014 shows that elevated prolactin shuts down your brain's hormone signals, specifically GnRH and LH, which means your testes never get the memo to produce testosterone. This condition is known as secondary hypogonadism, low testosterone caused by poor brain to gonad communication. Even worse, prolactin directly suppresses dopamine, the brain's chemical response for desire, motivation, and sexual energy, and the effects are measurable. A 2019 study in the Asian Journal of Andrology found that every 1 nanogram per milliliter increase in prolactin reduced erection time at the base of the penis by 2.68 minutes. So, what causes high prolactin? SSRIs, chronic stress, hypothyroidism, and pituitary tumors. First, you want to start off by getting tested. If it's greater than 15 nanograms per milliliter, investigate the root cause. And cabergoline, 0.25 to 0.5 milligrams twice weekly, is the gold standard treatment, but address root causes first. Killer 2 is sleep destruction. A study in JAMA 2011 had healthy young men sleep only 5 hours per night for 1 week. Their daytime testosterone levels dropped by 10 to 15%, equivalent to 10 to 15 years of aging. So why? About 80% of daily testosterone release occurs during deep sleep stages 3 and 4. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired, it castrates your hormone production. To fix this, prioritize 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, use blackout curtains, keep your room temperature 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and avoid screens 1 hour before bed. For supplements, you can consider magnesium glycinate around 400 milligrams, and also melatonin 0.5 to 3 milligrams if needed. Killer 3 is visceral fat aromatization. Here's something most men don't know. Fat tissue acts like an estrogen factory. Estrogen is a hormone, and its strongest form is called estradiol, which males need only a little of. Aromatase, a tiny enzyme living in fat cells, turns testosterone into estradiol. So carrying extra belly fat means more aromatase, which steals your testosterone and converts it into estrogen instead of letting it fuel muscle, mood, and libido. Research in Medical Hypothesis 2008 explains increasing obesity raises aromatase activity, causing more testosterone to estradiol conversion, lowering testosterone, and higher estrogen in men. This creates a vicious cycle of hormonal dysfunction. To fix this, get your body fat below 15%. Focus on resistance training, which has been shown to increase free testosterone while reducing SHBG. Cut ultra-processed foods and seed oils that promote inflammation and aromatase activity. Killer 4, micronutrient depletion. 3 critical nutrients are essential for testosterone production. Zinc, which acts as a cofactor for LH release and enzyme function. Deficiency directly impairs Leydig cell testosterone synthesis. Next is magnesium, which is essential for sleep quality, insulin sensitivity, and androgen production, and most men are deficient in it. The last is boron. A study in the Journal of Trace Elements in Medicine and Biology 2011 showed that 10 milligrams of boron daily for 7 days significantly increased free testosterone and decreased estradiol and SHBG. You should test for your deficiencies and supplement accordingly, with zinc 15 to 30 milligrams, magnesium glycinate 400 milligrams, and boron 10 milligrams daily. That brings us to the 5th killer, chronic stress. This is the big one. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which directly suppresses testosterone synthesis and GnRH release. Research shows that psychological stress reduces LH and testosterone pulsatility, essentially putting the brakes on your reproductive axis. To fix this, implement stress management protocols. Cold exposure, meditation, and adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, 600 milligrams daily, can help normalize cortisol patterns. Even if you fix production completely, there's a second layer that most men miss, and this is where things get really interesting. The solution requires understanding that testosterone itself doesn't drive libido. It's what testosterone gets converted into that matters. And if you want to go even more in depth on libido and what might be causing your issues, I strategize with all my clients to find root causes and create an action plan personalized just for them. Check out the link below for more info. This brings us to the second part of the PCU framework, conversion. And this is where most testosterone optimization plans completely fall apart. Here's the truth that most TRT clinics and Boost Your T ads won't tell you. Testosterone itself doesn't drive libido. What matters is what your body converts that testosterone into. Think of testosterone like crude oil. It's valuable, but useless until it's refined. Inside your body, that refining process happens in 2 key ways. 1, testosterone to DHT, a more powerful form that drives sex drive, erection quality, and masculine energy. The second is testosterone to estradiol, the strongest form of estrogen, which men need in just the right amount for mood, erection sensitivity, and hormone feedback. If either of these conversions gets blocked or goes out of balance, your testosterone can't work and your sex drive crashes, even if your total T looks normal on paper. DHT is the real driver of male libido, but most men are unknowingly blocking its production. A landmark study in the BMJ in 1995 tracked 92 healthy men and measured orgasm frequency. DHT was the only hormone that independently predicted sexual activity. Testosterone showed no correlation once DHT was controlled for. The study found that 2 standard deviations increase in DHT, meaning their levels are way above average, like being in the top few guys out of 100, was associated with 1 additional orgasm per week. This proves that DHT, not testosterone, drives male sexual behavior. Research published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine in 2014 gave healthy older men DHT gel for 24 months while suppressing their natural testosterone and estradiol production. Despite complete estrogen deficiency, sexual function was preserved, proving that DHT alone can maintain male sexual performance. But here's the scary part. Medications like finasteride for hair loss, which block DHT production, cause persistent sexual dysfunction in some men. A 2-year trial showed men on finasteride had close to 16% impotence rates, meaning they couldn't get an erection, versus just 6% on placebo. So what blocks DHT conversion? First is chronic inflammation. When your body is inflamed from poor diet, stress, or gut issues, it releases chemicals called inflammatory cytokines that slow down the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, the one that turns testosterone into DHT. The second is low zinc levels. Zinc is like fuel for the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. Without enough zinc, this enzyme can't do its job, and DHT levels drop. The third is hair loss meds. Drugs like finasteride and dutasteride are designed to block DHT to stop hair loss, but they can also block your libido and sexual function in the process. Fourth is high insulin or blood sugar. If you're insulin resistant, a common result of poor diet or lack of exercise, it disrupts enzyme function and reduces your ability to make DHT. So how do we optimize for DHT? First, you want to lower inflammation. Cut out ultra-processed foods like fried snacks, sugars, and seed oils, and take omega-3s 2 to 3 grams daily to calm inflammation and keep DHT conversion running smoothly. Also, make sure you're getting enough zinc, 15 to 30 milligrams per day, ideally with 2 to 3 milligrams of copper to stay balanced. Next, you want to support the 5-alpha reductase enzyme by taking 5 grams of creatine daily and also vitamin D, 2 to 4,000 IUs, and also avoid DHT blockers unless you really need them. But DHT is only half the equation. The second conversion is even more critical, and most men get this completely wrong. Here's the shocking truth. Men need estrogen, especially estradiol, for optimal sexual function, but the dose makes the poison. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2022 found that increases in estradiol were the strongest predictor of improved sexual desire in men on testosterone therapy, even more than testosterone itself. But balance is everything. Research in Scientific Reports in 2020 found high estradiol above 30 picograms per milliliter linked to erectile dysfunction, but low estradiol below 20 picograms per milliliter linked to delayed ejaculation and low mood. So the optimal range would be 20 to 30 picograms per milliliter for best sexual performance and mood stability. A famous longevity doctor, Peter Attia, cites in his practice he sees 30 to 50 picograms per milliliter is the sweet spot for estradiol. But even more important is the estradiol to testosterone ratio. How much of your testosterone is being converted into estradiol? Research shows that a ratio above 7.5 times 10 to the negative 3 is linked to erectile dysfunction, while 5.0 to 6.5 appears to be the optimal range, cites Scientific Reports in 2020. You can have normal T and normal estradiol, but if the ratio is off, your system is out of balance, and then symptoms appear. So what causes estradiol imbalance? First is too much aromatase, often from visceral fat, inflammation, or certain medications. Also, liver dysfunction. Your liver clears out excess estrogen. If it's backed up, estrogen builds up. Then aromatase inhibitor misuse. Oversuppressing estradiol can tank libido just as fast as too much. So how do we optimize estradiol? First, you want to control aromatase naturally by keeping your body fat under 15% and also eat cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts to help support healthy estrogen metabolism. Next, you want to support liver detox. Using TUDCA arnica, 500 milligrams per day, milk thistle, and phase 2 detox nutrients to help your liver clear excess estrogen efficiently. Then you want to monitor your ratio. Test both estradiol and testosterone and aim for a E2 to T ratio between 5.0 and 6.5 for optimal sexual function. This is the hidden layer that ties everything together. Your liver is the master regulator of hormone balance. It processes testosterone, clears excess estrogen, and helps regulate SHBG. When liver function is compromised, your hormonal system spirals. Studies show that liver dysfunction leads to increased SHBG, which binds testosterone and reduces the free, usable form. It also leads to poor estrogen clearance, leading to elevated estradiol, and then aromatase dysregulation, making your body convert more T into estradiol than it should. So here's how you can optimize your liver. Like we mentioned before, eat cruciferous vegetables daily, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. They support detox enzymes like sulforaphane. You can also supplement with TUDCA for 500 milligrams per day, which helps protect liver cells and support bile flow. And then reduce your liver burden by limiting alcohol, avoid excess acetaminophen, and cut processed foods that cause fat buildup in the liver. Now, to fix the inflammation and your gut health issues, start by taking omega-3s, 2 to 3 grams per day, EPA and DHA. You'll also want to lower inflammatory cytokines that impair hormone conversion by taking curcumin, 500 to 1,000 milligrams per day, which is a potent anti-inflammatory compound, which you could also take with black pepper. Now, to support your gut, eat fiber-rich veggies, fermented foods like kefir or kimchi, and bone broth, while cutting sugar, seed oils, and junk food that inflame the gut and leak toxins into your bloodstream. Even if you're producing testosterone and converting it properly, none of it will matter if your body can't actually use the hormones you're making. Which brings us to the final piece of the PCU framework, and the one almost everyone overlooks: utilization. This is the final piece that explains why some men have perfect testosterone levels but still feel terrible. Your body might not be able to actually use the hormones you're producing. Think of this like having a Ferrari with premium fuel, but the key won't turn in the ignition. All the horsepower in the world doesn't matter if you can't access it. 3 critical factors determine hormone utilization. The first is SHBG, your sex hormone binding globulin. This is the protein that locks up testosterone. Second is androgen receptor sensitivity, which means whether your cells can respond to hormonal signals. And then we have the HPA axis dysfunction, which means whether stress is blocking the entire system. Now let's focus on SHBG. This is a protein made in your liver that binds tightly to testosterone and makes it completely unusable. When testosterone is bound to SHBG, it's essentially locked in a vault. It can't leave the bloodstream to enter cells and activate androgen receptors, your hormone receivers. Only about 1 to 2% of your total testosterone is actually free and bioactive. The rest is bound up to SHBG, 60%, and albumin, 38%. Research shows that between age 40 and 75, men's SHBG levels rise so dramatically that free testosterone declines 2 to 3% per year. That's twice as fast as total testosterone decline, found in a 2017 study. Another study in diabetes care in 2010 found that men in the lowest SHB quartile, meaning below 30 nanomoles per liter, had a 38% prevalence of metabolic syndrome compared to just 17% in the highest quartile, or greater than 50 nanomoles per liter. But here's the paradox. Very low SHBG often signals insulin resistance, a major cause of erectile dysfunction, while very high SHBG binds up your testosterone, leaving too little to fuel libido and sexual function. So what causes high SHBG? First is chronic stress and high cortisol. Stress hormones upregulate SHBG production. Also, low protein diets. Protein restriction causes the liver to increase SHBG synthesis. Next, we have hypothyroidism. Excess thyroid hormone dramatically increases SHBG. Then we have your age. SHBG naturally increases about 1 to 2% per year after the age of 30. And lastly, we have overtraining. Excessive exercise without adequate recovery elevates your SHBG. So here's how to optimize it. Increase your protein intake. Aim for 1 gram per pound of body weight. Next, optimize insulin sensitivity. Slightly higher insulin levels reduce SHBG, but avoid insulin resistance. Then you could take strategic supplementation, like we talked about before: zinc, boron, and vitamin D. And as we previously mentioned, utilizing liver support and detoxification. But even if your testosterone is free and available, your cells might not be able to respond to it. And this genetic factor explains why some men feel great at 400 nanograms per deciliter deciliter, while others feel terrible at 600 nanograms per deciliter. Your androgen receptors, or ARs, are like locks that testosterone and DHT must fit into to work. But not everyone's locks are the same size. There's a well-documented genetic variation in the androgen receptor gene, specifically the CAG repeat length, that determines receptor sensitivity. Fewer CAG repeats create more sensitive receptors, while longer repeats make receptors less responsive. Research in the Journal of Sexual Medicine in 2015 found that men with longer CAG repeat lengths had significantly worse sexual function scores and more androgen deficiency symptoms than men with shorter repeats, despite identical testosterone levels. Another study showed that among men receiving testosterone therapy, those with shorter CAG repeats, more sensitive receptors, had greater improvements in sexual function compared to men with less sensitive receptors in a 2015 study. So what does this mean practically? A man with highly sensitive androgen receptors might feel optimal at 400 nanograms per deciliter for total testosterone, while a man with less sensitive ARs might need 700 plus to feel the same way. This explains why normal ranges are meaningless for individual optimization. Factors that impair androgen receptor function are chronic inflammation, inflammatory cytokines, chronic inflammation, endocrine disruptors like plastic, BPA, phthalates, fragrances, peptides, and then also nutrient deficiencies like zinc, selenium, and omega-3s. Then we have oxidative stress. These free radicals damage receptor proteins. Free radicals are tiny, wild molecules that bump into the locks on your cells and bend them out of shape so the right keys or signals can't fit. So here's how to optimize your receptors. First, reduce inflammation by taking omega-3s, curcumin, and eating polyphenol-rich foods. Next, minimize endocrine disruptors by using glass, stainless steel containers, and avoiding fragrance products. You can also choose organic when possible. Then we want to support receptor function by taking the right vitamins of zinc and vitamin E. Then we want to enhance cellular energy. You can take CoQ10 100 to 200 milligrams and PQQ 20 milligrams to support mitochondrial function needed for receptor activation. But there's one final factor that can override everything else, and it's probably sabotaging your hormones right now without you knowing it. The HPA axis, short for hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, is your body's built-in stress response system. It's like an internal alarm that goes off when you're overwhelmed, anxious, or sleep deprived. But when that alarm stays on too long, it silently shuts down your ability to use testosterone, even if your lab numbers look great. Here's how chronic stress wrecks your hormones. First, cortisol, your main stress hormone, tells your testicles to slow down testosterone production. It also blocks brain signals like GnRH and LH that normally tell your body to make more T. Even if testosterone is present, stress makes your cells less sensitive to it, like turning down the volume on its signal. High cortisol raises prolactin, a hormone that further suppresses testosterone and sex drive. Stress also depletes dopamine, the brain chemical that drives desire, motivation, and sexual energy. Dopamine is in a part of your brain called the medial preoptic area, or MPOA, which is crucial for male libido. Research shows that when stress is high and cortisol stays elevated, dopamine drops. And even high testosterone can't save your sex drive when that happens. When your stress system, or your HPA axis, stays switched on, it throws off everything, even if your labs look fine. Here are the most common signs of dysfunction: feeling tired but wired, poor stress tolerance, trouble recovering from workouts, low libido despite decent testosterone, sleep issues, you can't fall or stay asleep, and mood swings, anxiety, or irritability. To fix this, you need to calm your nervous system, reset cortisol, and rebuild dopamine. Here's how you do it. You can start with cold exposure, 2 to 3 minutes of cold showers or ice baths daily to reset dopamine and stress pathways. Then improve your circadian rhythm by getting sunlight within 30 minutes of waking up, and avoid screens or blue light a few hours before bed. Then we want to take adaptogens like ashwagandha 600 milligrams and rhodiola 300 to 400 milligrams, shown to regulate cortisol. You can adopt some stress relief practices of doing breath work, meditation, or yoga 10 to 20 minutes per day. You also want to focus on recovery. Prioritize 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, have active rest days, and avoid overtraining. When your body is stuck in fight or flight mode, it becomes unresponsive to testosterone, no matter how high your levels are. And this is why real optimization goes beyond lab numbers. You can't just boost T. You have to fix the system that lets you actually use it. Because if even one part breaks, your libido breaks with it. And stress, it's the silent killer of all three. When all three parts of the PCU framework work together, production, conversion, and utilization, your hormonal system doesn't just function, it dominates. You feel confident, energized, and like the man you're supposed to be. But optimizing the system requires precision, the right testing, and a personalized approach based on your unique physiology. If you're ready to take control of your hormonal health and feel like a man again, I want to invite you to book a strategy call with me. On this call, we'll dive deep into your specific situation, review any labs you have, and create a personalized optimization plan that addresses your unique blockages in the PCU system. Click the link below to book a call.